Come on out to Mississauga, it's the greatest place around. Where on a quiet evening you can watch the sun go down. And if you should need a friend, there are plenty to be found. That's why everybody loves that good old Mississauga.
Hello, and welcome to Ask a Historian. I'm Matthew Wilkinson, historian with Heritage Mississauga. And each week we invite you to send in your questions and we'll explore the fascinating stories of the city of Mississauga together. Like, subscribe, and follow us and stay up to date on all the heritage happenings with Heritage Mississauga. As part of the special anniversary, the 50th anniversary of the City of Mississauga, we are going to be exploring moments and milestones with past and current civic leaders and long-standing citizens here in the City of Mississauga as we explore, again, those memories around the City of Mississauga's last 50 years. On this week's episode of Ask a Historian, we are thrilled to be joined by Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasko, as we explore moments and milestones from the City of Mississauga's last 50 years as part of the 50th anniversary celebrations here in Mississauga. Thank you for joining us again for Ask a Historian and for Stephen Dasko for wandering down memory lane with us. So thank you, Councillor Dasko, for joining us here at Ask a Historian in what we're calling Moments and Memories, and looking back on or looking at the 50th anniversary of our great city of Mississauga. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, Matthew. This is huge. I'm a big believer in you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've come from.
I couldn't agree more, and I know Lakeview is is a treasure to you, and as is the city, and you've got long roots in the community. But how just to kind of paint our picture here, the 50th anniversary, and looking back, 1974, the city comes to be. But when did Mississauga become home to you?
Home to me when I was literally born. I was born in Toronto, I will say. But literally, after I was literally released from the hospital to my parents, we came back, and home was basically Mineola Road in here, Ontario, or Highway 10, as we always knew it.
Yep. So this Mississauga is your I guess your backyard, all growing up through your younger
years. It really is.
And you haven't moved far from home either, right?
No, I've lived my whole life within 8 blocks of my family home, and
that is incredible.
And my mother, my brother, were still very much in and a part of the community, and my wife as well. She she's got a little bit of a different accent, of course, because she's up around the Mississauga valleys, so I tend to call her a valley girl sometimes. But no, she she grew up a lot of her life. She was originally born in Toronto, and then I think in her just getting into her early teenage years, they moved out to Mississauga, and so we've been in Mississauga for most of our lives.
I say you're a little like me, where my wife grew up in Meadowville, but I was in Arundel, and I always said she brought me to the North Country, except you're in the South. So just when we look back, I mean, you grew up, obviously, like I said, your backyard, these are the streets you grew up on as a youth, and what are some of your earliest memories of living in Mississauga? What sticks out in your mind, kind of personal highlights living in the city, thinking back again over the breadth of time that you've called home?
Absolutely. Well, a few of them, Matthew, would have been playing hockey. I always wanted to play hockey as a kid. It was a big thing, and I kept pushing my dad and my mom, saying, I really want to play hockey. So I finally had an opportunity to play. I played for Port Credit. I was in house league there. Yep. And one of the teams that really pops to the top of my mind that I really enjoyed playing for was the Port Credit Texaco team. And the Texaco that I referenced ended up becoming Imperial Oil Lands, which is now Brightwater, but that was our sponsor way back in its time. So playing hockey was a big part of it. Riding my bike down to the very brand new R.K. McMillan Park land area before they had put all the grass down and naturalized it, etc. But going down there, and I recall riding my bike down, and as you look a little bit east, you could see this huge black mountain of coal. And that was, of course, for the Four Sisters that we had down in the Lakeview area. Um, and then as well, you would see a lot of other things around the city. My parents would take me sometimes up around, and my brother, we'd go up to where Sussex Center is now at Burnham Thorpe and 10, and we were there at the side of the road to buy corn. And so we've certainly seen some changes, and also, quite frankly, a waterfront on the kind of the darker side of things. We would see a waterfront that we could just look at through a rusted fence, and you couldn't really get to. So those are a few of the memories as a child.
I think it's marvelous when you look at your ward today and the opening up of the waterfront, and I know all the work that you're gone in there and the creation of new parkland. It's the first time in ever that people are going to have access to the water here, right? Like, that's amazing.
It's a transformation that truly is incredible. We are building literally 145 acres of waterfront parkland and conservation area, which is right in the heart of the GTA. It's significant. Part of that is truly, it's reopening and re-engaging the public back to the waterfront, where we could see it, as I mentioned, through fences and things like that. You couldn't get access to it, whether it was the St. Lawrence starch plant, it was the Imperial Oil or the Texaco lands at Mississauga Road and Lakeshore, or it was the Lakeview site. I mean, you couldn't get access to the waterfront, and now we are, and it's clean, it's green. That we're coming into a whole different shift. And one of the others that I'd be remiss to not mention is that we have a creek, Searson Creek. And Searson Creek, for the longest time, if you were to look at the north side of Lakeshore, you would see this beautiful kind of meandering creek. And then when you look at the south side of Lakeshore, you go, where did the creek go? And it went into a pipe, and then it went underneath the GE Booth sewage treatment plant right into the lake. And now it is actually flowing naturally right above ground, as a creek should. There's all naturalized area around that with native plants, and that flows right into Lake Ontario. So a big transformation that's going on right now.
But this you may have already answered part of the next question, but the changes that you've seen. I mean, think about it. I know just the breadth of time that you've been here, and the cities has it changed enormously or evolved enormously in terms of just even the sheer number of people living here. But some of the changes that you look around and see, you talked about Sussex Center. You can't buy corn there anymore, at least not from the roadside. But what are some of the things that stick out to you as kind of being significant changes to you that have impacted you or resonate with you?
Sure. Well, a downtown that we're starting to really see come alive and evolve. When I was younger, if you asked for a signature building of any sort for Mississauga, we didn't have it. And I think the first signature building that we had, quite frankly, was City Hall. I do recall when that was being opened and going up to see it with my mom. She took my brother and I up, and I think they were filming a movie with Burt Reynolds there shortly after it opened. But we were there for the opening, and to go and see that. And at the time, I remember it was very controversial. People thought that it looked almost like a prison. And I think it's grown on a lot of people, and it truly is an iconic building. It's you see the images everywhere. But that was one, of course, the absolute towers of the Marilyn Monroe Towers, and now M City. We're going to get a lot of others. But that's also where I think the huge potential, as we have history in the making, is to really push and expect for great architecture going forward as well.
I remember I'm thinking back to a comic where it was an arm, a man with his arm over his son. And he said, "Let's challenge ourselves to build buildings that are worthy of designation." It's like.
And what a powerful phrase. And it's true, because we should be looking at things like this. We can build buildings and just slap them together, etc. But when you come up with something that truly is inspiring, it's photo worthy, it's something that, in the future you'd like to designate. These are all what we should be doing as a city, because that's really what helps define cities in one part.
I was gonna say, in your role as councillor, but I know you sit on a number of committees too, pushing for excellence, right? That's the
Always,
desire.
always. Yeah, I think you really have to. And it's one that I currently receive about 40% of all the city's development applications. And what I always push everybody for is excellence. And so some of what we get out of that is we have the first passive house in Mississauga, which is extremely energy efficient. We also have the largest low impact development, or LID, system that's being put into place in what was the dirtiest place in the entire city, at the old oil refinery at Brightwater. So that is the largest anywhere in Canada that's going in right now. We also have District Energy, which is going to come off of the GE Booth wastewater plant. So a lot of firsts like that. And quite frankly, we also have, from a Tesla charging station, talk about very recent, is that we have the largest Tesla charging station in Ontario right now at Applewood Plaza.
I did not know that. That's fascinating. The future is indeed amongst us. So
It surely is.
wait, you know, people help guide and shape have helped guide and shape our city over time. If you could, and this is a wide open question, I realize there's no way to really hat tip to everybody who's impacted you or impacted the city, but if you had to think about, a few people that you feel have really shaped the city over your time, who comes to mind?
Oh, there's a lot of names. I might forget a few, but one of those that would pop top to mind, Bruce McLaughlin.
Right.
And Bruce was a visionary. Some might agree with his vision, some might not, but he was definitely a visionary. He a lot of what we see in Mississauga that's newer around city center, and that I would attribute to Bruce. So I think that's significant, all very much so. And you can't separate the two, but Hazel McCallion was very much her fingerprints are all over the city, and she was really that guiding light that we had for so many years at the City of Mississauga. And so those would be certainly two. And then some other people that have had a great impact is a lot of our artists, quite frankly, from Oscar Peterson all the way through Chuck Jackson. And one person that has put music on the map is Gil Moore with Metalworks. So these are some people that truly have helped forge what we have as a city right now, guiding us forward as well. And then one of the others is the Gray family, and the Gray family from the St. Lawrence Starch days, significant employer, and then as well now is home to a brand new community that went from that industrial past into a clean green future that's got residential and also some commercial space there as well. And my last person I will mention, because he's a bit of a living legend, I'll say, is Ron Duquette. And Ron Duquette, his fingerprints very much on what's happened around the city, and also with Legends Row and his involvement in so many different components of the city, and even naming Square One. So there's so many people, and I know I'll forget a lot as well, but those are some that would pop top to mind for myself.
I think when you mentioned the names, those are names we don't forget, right? Like that they really do impact the development of our community, the identity of our community, the awareness. I guess the outside looking in draws attention to us. You're bang on with those. I mean, they are legends amongst us, and just wonderful. When you look at the community around you, I know Ward 1 is near and dear to your heart. Obviously, it's home, it's what you represent. But are there landmarks within your community that really strike out to you, whether it connects to what you saw growing up or the city that's evolved today? Things that are kind of iconic on our landscape that really kind of help define either Ward 1 or the city of Mississauga.
Yeah. Well, there absolutely one that would pop top to mind because I think it's one of the most photographed images that we have around the entire city is the Port Credit Lighthouse. That's one that was literally a pumping station that turned into an iconic place after we lost our former lighthouse that burnt. And part of that, I'm going to give a shameless plug to Matthew Wilkinson right here to say that if you have not walked along the the boardwalk down in Port Credit out towards the Ridgetown, which is another landmark as well. You really should, because a few years back we did some great plaques that went up and talked about some of the local history, and that is certainly one that, if you haven't seen it, I believe you really should. Everybody that is tuning in for this, so
I have
that
a
I would
picture of you with the drill in hand, I believe.
absolutely. We were down there on a pretty brisk day,
It was.
and so that I would say the Adamson Estate is another one that we have. And the backstory on the log cabin that was down in Port Credit at the river, which is now by the Bradley Museum, that's another as well. And then of course the Leslie Log House. I could probably go for just go to each part of the city and
I'm
point
sure,
at
yeah.
all different places, but we have them, and I believe we really need to embrace, and not just embrace, but really get that out to everybody as they're growing up through the school system, through field trips and things like that. And that's also why I'm undertaking some initiatives such as an Indigenous Arts Walk down on our waterfront as well.
I mean, just that idea of the layers in time, right? Wherever you live, wherever you walk, somebody's lived and walked there before, and it gives us depth to meaning. I think depth to our city, and
Truly, and this is what I believe in very passionately, that's what really gives us that sense of Mississauga is having an incredible past that's very diverse as well.
absolutely. So we're not. This is not what we're skilled at doing. You may be more than me, but if you could look forward in time, here we are. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary as a city. Nothing to shake our head at. 50 years has been. It's been an amazing story of evolution for the city of Mississauga. But looking ahead, if we could prognosticate, what are some of the things that you wish or hope that to have for the future of our city?
Well, I know what we're going to get, and we are going to get a world-class city, and that's one that we're going to have. We've got all the ingredients now to help define us as having a great downtown. We have a downtown that is yet to be truly sculpted into something that is really pedestrian friendly, and that could be worthy of being on the world stage. There's great opportunity right now, especially with getting the downtown loop, reintroduced for the LRT. I think that's incredible. Our waterfront. You don't have many cities around the globe that are on a large body of water that are not defined by it. And this is truly part of that. And this is history in the making right now that we do have. And as well, our push, as I was mentioning, and I think you actually called it the best of you want to build buildings that are worthy of being designated in the future. This is a big part of what my passion is. We can't legislate it, we can't regulate it, but one thing I always love to try to work with everybody is to come up and let's come in with architectural excellence. Come in with something, as you say, that you want to end up with designating in the future.
Yes.
All of these different parts, and quite frankly, a cultural scene that we have in I think anywhere in the globe is going to be second to none. And a lot of that is going to be with live local music, with festivals, with vibrancy, with really embracing, having people from all over the globe come to live here peacefully, and not only peacefully, but rejoice in all of our diversity. That's what I look forward to.
You know what? If there was a sales pitch, or I couldn't have said it any better. That is such a fantastic high for a vision for the city of Mississauga, and yeah, we got to put that in a can and have it as a.
Well, honestly, because of our past, the best is yet to come.
Oh, fantastic! That you got bylines too. This is well, Councillor Dasko, thank you. All the best to you moving forward. All the best to you during the 50th anniversary year of our city, and all the.
Thank you.
I know there's a myriad of summer events coming, so it's.
And if you haven't had a chance, everyone, we've got a brand new anthem for the city of Mississauga from a very talented artist named Mikey Bloom. And if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do. It's called Mississauga.
The Mississauga Anthem, an earlier episode of Ask a Historian, we interviewed Mikey Bloom. We'll link to it here, and you can listen to the song. And that was brought on a big part with you in hand. So, hat tip to Tommy Hunter from 1974, but Mikey Bloom, the new Mississauga Anthem. And thank you to you, Councillor Dasko. And again, thank you for joining us here on Ask a Historian.
Oh, it's truly my pleasure. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you for spending some time with us here at Ask a Historian, and thank you to Ward 1 Councillor Stephen Dasko for wandering down memory lane with us and connecting to the 50th anniversary of the City of Mississauga and the last 50 years of growth here in Mississauga. Like, subscribe, and follow us and stay up to date on all the heritage happenings with Heritage Mississauga, and we'll see you on future episodes of Ask a Historian.